I want to challenge your thinking. What if we're already in World War III? I hear a lot of conservatives out there, people on my team, if you will, saying that, listen, Zelensky is going to get us into World War III. I want to challenge your thinking a little bit because I think we're already there. I think we're seeing that with everything that we're seeing take place at Harvard on college campuses. I think we're seeing that with the anti-Semitic attack that we saw in Boulder, Colorado. I do think we're seeing a bit of that with the Russia-Ukraine war. I think we're seeing that with the Chinese researchers that tried to poison our food supply. Guys, I'm here to tell you, if you're waiting for World War III to occur, and if you want to blame Zelensky, you're too late. He can't start a war that we're already in. You're listening to the Carl Jackson Show. This is your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. All right, so here it is, guys. I want to challenge your thinking a little bit. Now, listen, I'm not a foreign policy expert, but I can read. I can read, and I can look at the signs, if you will, just like everyone else. And I got to say this. Listen, the Russia-Ukraine war, I don't want to be involved in an ongoing war with Russia or Ukraine, helping out Ukraine in perpetuity. I think that's a bad idea. I really do. But I got something to share with you guys. I think this war, in a sense, is a distraction. I think it is a smart play for the Trump administration to kind of be hands off. I liked the minerals deal. All right. I think that would have secured, or that will eventually secure, the safety of many Ukrainians that remain alive, quite frankly. But I hear a lot of people saying, listen, Ukraine is going to get us into World War III. Ukraine is going to Zelensky is going to get us into World War III. I'm going to challenge your thinking. We're already there. Guys, we're in a Cold War with China. I want to remind you, and I've said this for quite some time, this isn't anything new. China, Russia, Iran, North Korea. And right here in my formerly fingertips, where's it at? Where's it at? We have the new South Korean leader, has a new president. He's hard left. Our NATO allies, are they what they used to be? All of our friends in NATO, France, Germany, the UK, many of them, they've got huge populations of Muslims that are taking over the country. And you have globalists, you have leftists, you have a bunch of Islamists that are now in these countries, and they're not what they used to be. I don't even trust our NATO allies anymore. I don't. It's not what it used to be. Now, for now, we absolutely need them. Obviously, I don't want to take on, I'm not an isolationist. I don't want to take on the world on my own, but you are mistaken if all you're focused on is Zelensky and Putin and thinking, oh my Lord, Zelensky is going to start World War III. It doesn't work that way anymore. See, I think what a lot of people, and frankly, this is what gives me pause. Actually, this is what gives me in a weird type of way, a bit of peace. The fact that Russia and Ukraine are going at it old school, but Russia has nukes. Guys, I know. We know. You don't think Putin calculated at some point in 3.5, 4 years, however long it's been, that, hey, at some point, if this fails, I'm going to have to use nukes. Carl, are you saying, I mean, how can you just be so flippant when it comes to nukes? I don't think that Putin wants a nuclear war, because I think he would have already started that, simply because he is not doing that well. I'm going to give you some numbers momentarily. But Putin isn't in great shape. Now, Ukraine isn't in the best of shape. You heard Trump say to Zelensky in the White House, hey, listen, you don't have the cards. And I don't think that Zelensky has the cards, but I'm not convinced that Putin has the cards either. And I don't think that you can myopically look at Russia and Ukraine and assume that that is what's going to draw us into World War III. I'm telling you, we're already there. I think China is happy to use Russia. I think China wants Russia and Ukraine as a distraction to draw us in, to try to deplete our munitions. I think that's what they want. I think Trump sees that. I think that's a good thing, because There's a bigger war taking place, and that is the Cold War that exists between us and China. And all of the rest of these guys are little players. Now, Putin may think that he's going to be a tough guy in the future. He's not. It's going to be the U.S. or it's going to be China. It's as simple as that. And frankly, I think the rest of the world knows it. And so there's a bunch of grifters on the left and the right. Zelensky, Putin, Zelensky's going to get us into World War III because I think they want clickbait. And I don't think they're capable of releasing themselves from groupthink and thinking on the macro level. Because it's too easy to say what everyone else is saying. But that's why I want to challenge your thinking. It's so much bigger than Russia, Ukraine. Now, don't get me wrong. I could be completely wrong. Maybe Putin just goes crazy and blows up, nukes all across Europe. I certainly hope not. But I think he would have done it by now. I think Putin has locked himself in, has cornered himself, quite frankly. I don't think he could give up this war if he wanted to. Obviously, the negotiations didn't go too well. You had Trump come out the other day and basically, say, listen, Putin wants to retaliate for what happened in Ukraine. And we know that Putin will. Zelensky is a dictator. He suspended elections. It's funny to me. These are the arguments that we're hearing. And I'm like, is my side capable of the macro? It's weird. Yeah. It's a very corrupt country, Ukraine. We already know that. Russia, it's a very corrupt country. We already know that. I'm always surprised, even though I'm not a big fan of Zelensky, but I'm always surprised at the shade that he gets compared to Putin, a dictator. Well, listen, Zelensky is, he doesn't allow Christians to have services. He tore up the Russian Orthodox Church, the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. Guys, don't be duped by that. Those aren't real Christians in those churches. Those are people that are basically Putin's puppets. And actually, if you understand communism, Putin doesn't want Christians in Russia. He doesn't want that to be overwhelming in Russia. An overwhelming thought, in Russia to take over, because it's not good for him. It's not good for a dictator. Well, the same is true for Zelensky. I can see that, but the arguments that have been made are completely wrong. I want to take you through several. I want to jog your memory. Several issues. Again, NATO is not what it used to be. We've had the infiltration at Harvard. Guys, these are the hotbeds for stirring up a bunch of radicals that are anti-American. You have Qatar funding. You have China funding a bunch of radicals inside of these American universities. We're already at war. And I think the mistake that Americans make with Russia and Ukraine is we see the drones, we see the missiles. And yes, I actually believe that attack, that drone attack was a blessing in disguise. Maybe that's where I should have started, Gabe. That drone attack was a blessing in disguise. I don't want to see World War III. I don't want to see nukes go off. But I think that drone attack woke Americans up at a deeper level. Now, I think their ire are directed in the wrong place. Right now, the ire is directed towards Zelensky. I think there's a bigger fish. I think that bigger fish is China. I'm as worried of the Russia-Ukraine war as China is. I'm as worried of Putin shooting off nukes as China is. Does China seem to be worried? Now, the EU is a little worried. They're a little concerned, but they weren't until Trump forced them to be. And it was all monetary. I wonder why that is. It's kind of weird. It's kind of odd, right? It's kind of odd. I don't blame Zelensky, as crazy as I think he is. I don't blame him for wanting to defend his country, even though he's doing some things that all of us would look at as Americans and say, that's That's not right. You don't do things that way, guys. They're not America. I can understand Putin. Oh man, Putin looks bad. He's the big what do they call him? Whatever bear, Russian bear or whatever, out in that part of the world. He doesn't want to look stupid. He doesn't want to look silly. And frankly, I think if he loses power, I think Putin's dead. I think he's done. I think he's over. I think it's over with. I don't think he has anywhere else to go. I don't think he could stop if he wanted to. He want to stop. He doesn't want peace, and he couldn't. He can't. He can't stop this war if he wanted to. I think he'd be killed. But again, you're only looking at Russia and Ukraine, and we're looking at this old school war. Guys, there's a new war that's being fought, and that's digital, that's cyber, that's farmland. We'll talk about all of that next. You are listening to The Carl Jackson Show. We'll be back momentarily. Guys, listen, I appreciate you tuning in to The Carl Jackson Show. I just want to remind you that our friend Mike Lindell has a passion to help everyone get the best sleep of your life at mypillow.com. He didn't stop by simply creating the best pillow. Mike created the best bed sheets ever. They look and feel great, which means an even better night's sleep for me, which is crucial for my busy schedule. Mike is offering the best deal on his Giza Dream sheets, any size and any color, just $49.98. That's right. You can get even queens, kings, split kings, and cow kings, any size and any color, just $49.98. All you have to do is order now, because when they're gone, they are gone. Also, for a limited time, when your order is over $100, you will receive $100 in free digital gifts. Call 1-800-858-0263. Use the promo code Carl, or go to mypillow.com. Make sure you use the promo code Carl, C-A-R-L. I don't spell it like the communists, for the amazing offer of $49.98 on the Giza Dream sheets, any size and any color. That number again, 1-800-858-0263, promo code Carl, C-A-R-L. What if the Ukraine drone attack was a blessing in disguise? Guys, I'm here to tell you, I think that we're already in World War III. I think for all of you that say, listen, Zelensky is going to get us into World War III if he's not careful, he can't start a war that we're already in. Guys, our NATO allies are not really great allies anymore. We see that Harvard has been infiltrated by Qatar and China that are growing up radicals amongst us. You got these China researchers that were smuggling in a fungus to destroy some of our crops. We've got a bunch of foreign nationals that are trying to censor Americans right here in America. You've got Iran that is rejecting a deal for peace. You've got Trump with a new travel ban out there. You've got China overwhelmingly encroaching in our Western hemisphere. Guys, I'm here to tell you, Zelensky can't start a war that we're already in. We're in a different type of war. Don't you get it? We'll talk about the brilliant operation. That's what it's being called. And guys, listen, it was a brilliant operation. And I understand your chagrin. Oh, they shouldn't have done it. They're going to coax us into a war. And I think that's just naive thinking on Americans' part. Guys, we're in a war. It's a different type of war. When we see Russia and Ukraine, we see the bombs and all that kind of stuff. It looks scary. I've seen some of the warfare online. It's disgusting. It's scary. It's horrific. It's horrifying. I can't even imagine the devastation of a nuke. But that's not the war that we're in right now. That's the distraction. It's going to be us or it's going to be China. Hat tip, the Federation for Defense of Democracy's brilliant operation. Ukraine hammers Russian bomber fleet with an ambitious drone operation. And guys, I know that many of you have already heard this. I just want to go through this and give you a synopsis. And then I want to open your minds to the fact that we are in a different type of war, primarily with China as our main adversary, actually our enemy. Our enemy. You cannot think of Russia and Ukraine without thinking of China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, and now you got a new leader in South Korea that is a hard leftist that cannot stand the West. What's happening in that region of the world? These are some of the things that we have to be concerned about. We've got NATO allies that are barely allies. They seem to want to take us down. I mean, it's the craziest. It's the craziest thing. You have Trump issuing travel bans. You have the guy burning Jews in Boulder, Colorado, an Islamist. All right, so let's get back. Here's the synopsis of what happened. So you have the Ukraine surprise drone attack that claimed to have destroyed or damaged nearly a third of Russia's strategic bomber fleet. That was on the 1st of this month. It's the largest drone operation within Russia territory to date. Oh, my Lord, we should not get into Russia. We're going to start World War III. It's weird to me because I'm always surprised, even by those on my team, when they never say, Putin shooting rockets into Ukraine. Well, that's Putin's territory. Putin doesn't want Ukraine to be a part of NATO. Guys, I believe that. It doesn't justify murdering civilians. It's really it's becoming a really lazy argument. And I was guilty of it. But the more that I hear it, I'm like, this is kind of becoming lazy with the right. I feel like we get stuck in a position, and as things change, we can't change. And we got to be looking at the big picture. And I think Trump is doing that, frankly. So that drone strike where Ukraine utilized 117 first-person drones smuggled into Russia to strike air bases in several different locations. The operation, however, followed a Russian attack on Ukraine that deployed a record-breaking 472 one-way attack drones, 3 ballistic missiles, 4 cruise missiles that same day. Kind of weird we don't hear about that one. There will be no ceasefire agreement. And I think, I know this sounds, I want the killing to stop. The casualties are absolutely insane. The latest round of peace negotiations, they're done. Ukraine concluded on June 2nd. It concluded their meeting in Istanbul on June 2nd without a ceasefire agreement. The two sides agreed to exchange severely injured prisoners of war under the age of 25 and the bodies of 6,000 soldiers that had been killed in the 3-year-long conflict. But Moscow continued to insist on the maximalist terms for a 30-day ceasefire. That simply is not gonna happen. The Senate prepares a sanction bill against Russia. Obviously, you had Lindsey Graham out there. Which I don't think was a good look. I think it was totally unnecessary. But the Senate is determined. There's apparently 80 senators that are ready to co-sponsor a bill that would set a 500% tariffs on goods that are imported from countries that buy Russian oil, gas, uranium, and other products. And now Trump is at a point where he's ready to sign on to it. I heard people complaining about Lindsey Graham. And listen, I don't like Lindsey Graham getting ahead of the president on foreign policy. I think that's a no-no. I don't think that should have been done. I don't think it was coy, but apparently this is where Trump is now too, because I do believe that Putin is trying to play him for a fool at this point. And this is a precarious situation because it's not Trump's fault. It's not the Republican fault. This is the fault of the Biden administration and the auto pen that got us into this war, that got us into this mess. And I think, sadly, what we're dealing with now is China is on the march. You saw that as soon as Trump left office, China took Hong Kong, right? China is going to try to take Taiwan. I think they're trying to buy time. Now, there's news that Trump and Xi Jinping had about a 90, I believe it was close to a 90-minute talk today. And so they're going to work out this trade issue. But guys, we're not in a trade war. We're in a cold war with China. And I think China wants to buy time. But this drone attack was impressive. You got to admit it. It was impressive. You take out a third of Russia's bomber fleet, those bomber fleets that literally are meant to carry some of the nuclear weapons that many of us have been concerned about. But now you strike the ire of Vladimir Putin and he's going to come up with something even more crazy. Well, Ukraine might too. But they're not our only worry. They're not our only worry. Remember, China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, that's the new axis of evil. And then you've got a leftist in South Korea now, our ally. And then you've got NATO nations. Thank God Poland has just elected a populist. You've got Italy. Thank God. And I forget the Maloney's. I believe it's Maloney. Thank God for her in Italy. So we have some populists that are fighting back against the woke left in the EU. There's no doubt about it. But we have NATO allies where I'm concerned about their value system, because how can you fight for Western values when you don't believe in them, or when your cities and towns and countries have been overrun by people that don't believe in Western values and, as a matter of fact, hates the West? That's why even our relationships with NATO is going to be precarious, in my opinion. And then you have this, and I think this is good on Trump's part. President Trump issues a travel ban restricting entry of foreign nationals. This is important. You can't have people coming into the United States that are unvetted from hot zones that perhaps have no desire to destroy America as it exists. We're seeing this occur in our college campuses, which sadly I think are hotbeds for terrorism. I really do. Look at the guy that murdered the Jews in Washington, D.C., or in the Baltimore area at I believe it was Washington, D.C., at that museum, the University of Chicago, I believe he came out of. What's happening in our institutions? First, they came for the Jews. Oh, it's not just going to be Jews that they're coming for. And I think China is looking at all this because, remember, they're helping to fund a lot of these universities across the United States of America. They own farmland in the United States of America. Did you know that the governor of Arizona, Democrat governor Katie Hobbs, vetoed a bill that prohibited China from owning farmland near U.S. bases, military bases, installations in the state of Arizona? Did you know that? We're already at war, and everybody is expecting missiles, and that is dangerous. This is not the type of war that China is fighting. They want you to be distracted by Russia, Ukraine. Oh my God. While meanwhile, they're sending people to the United States to poison our water, to poison our food supply, to spy on our military bases. And all we can say is Zelensky is going to get us into World War III. Damn it, we're already there. I feel like I'm a voice in the wilderness. I feel like we're getting surrounded, and Americans don't even see it because we're only allowed to say what our political parties say and not think outside of the box. You're listening to The Carl Jackson Show. All right, so listen to this. President Trump issues travel ban restricting entry of foreign nationals. We've had some wins this week, too, with SCOTUS, so I do want to get to that later this week. Some really big wins that are absolutely amazing for America, absolutely amazing for the conservative movement. Excuse me. But President Trump issues a travel ban restricting entry of foreign nationals from nations that pose national security and public safety threats: Afghanistan, Burma, Chad, Republic of the Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea. I never even heard of that. Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Yemen. A partial ban on Burundi, Cuba, Laos, Sierra Leone, Togo, Turkmenistan, Venezuela. It is the president's sacred duty to take action to ensure that these seeking to enter our country will not harm the American people. And I think Trump is thinking about this in the right way. I think a lot of people are thinking myopically, and they're worried about Russia, Ukraine. I don't think Trump is going to be able to stop that war. I know he had a mission. I know he had a desire to stop that war. But the bottom line is, Europe is going to have to get involved. Europe is going to have to, if they want Ukraine protected, they're going to have to divvy up and protect Ukraine. I want to see Putin push back personally. All right. I think that drone attack was a blessing in disguise, because I think it wakes Americans up to the possibility that can happen in our homeland. But don't think that's the only thing that can happen in our homeland. Iran rejects U.S. offer. Who are you to tell us whether we should have nuclear program or not? Man, it almost feels like Iran feels emboldened for some reason. I wonder why that is, guys, because they're all on the march. China, again, Russia, Iran. You have Russia, that's sending fuel to many of these places, our NATO allies even. That's absolutely sickening to me. Russia to retaliate over the drone attack. Things are going to get even more messy. I really don't think that Putin is going to give up. I don't think he can give up. But again, I think China is looking at even Russia and Ukraine, and many people were speculating, okay, well, China is looking at Russia and Ukraine, and they don't want to invade Taiwan simply because they're looking at Russia and Ukraine. No, it's because I do think the tariffs are working, and I do think they work really well when it comes to China. Now they're going to come to some type of trade agreement. I wish Trump would continue to stick it to him. Trump presses Congress to give him leverage over Putin by passing sanctions legislation. So now Trump is on board with this by reposting a Mark Thiessen piece arguing for the same. Thiessen's argument is, quote, "It is clear that Putin does not want peace. He has to be forced to end the war. To do that, Trump needs greater leverage. Congress could give it to him by passing the Sanctioning Russia Act, a bipartisan effort led by Senators Lindsey Graham, and Tom Cotton from Arkansas as well. The bill would have 82 co-sponsors in the Senate, and it would impose, quote unquote, bone-crushing sanctions on Russia. So that needs to happen. South Korea has a new president, and he's hard left. The winner, Lee Jae-myung, head of the Progressive Democratic Party, known as the Minju Party, he won the snap election decisively with 49.42% of the vote, and he's chummy with both North Korea and with the CCP. Wow. Things are changing. The Federalist Trump administration moves to revoke U.S. student visas for Chinese nationals. This occurred last week. The Trump administration announced Wednesday that it will begin the process of aggressively revoking student visas for Chinese nationals studying in the United States. The left went apoplectic, but that's okay. We got to protect them too. Under President Trump's leadership, the U.S. State Department will work with the Department of Homeland Security to aggressively revoke visas for Chinese students, including those with connections to the CCP. According to Secretary of State Marco Rubio, the administration will additionally be reviewing its existing visa criteria to enhance scrutiny of all future visa applications from the People's Republic of China and Hong Kong. And thanks to the terrorists in Boulder, Colorado, now visa overstayers are on the pipeline to get the heck up out of this country, and it needs to happen. Because now we're looking at a weakened NATO. Now we're looking at an emboldened China, even though China was hurting and reeling because of the tariffs. And again, I think Trump needs to put the four-finger discount back on China when it comes to those tariffs. We don't want to embolden these people. We already know what they're trying to do. They're trying to come into the Western Hemisphere. They're trying to gain relationships with all of these other nations where it's impossible for us to divest from China. That's their game. They want to win over the United States. They want to defeat the United States without having to fire a shot. That's the war that we're in right now. That's World War III. It's a Cold War. Everybody's looking for this hot war. The hot war is last resort. The hot war is last resort. Xi Jinping knows that. Donald Trump knows that. The hot war is last resort. That's why Putin is desperate. That's why Zelensky is desperate. They're in a hot war. We're not. We're in a cold war, but we're in war nonetheless. All right. Let's see. In March, a coalition of GOP House members introduced legislation to prevent individuals from obtaining U.S. student visas. One example cited by the congressman was an October 2024 FBI indictment involving 5 Chinese nationals who were charged for allegedly spying on a U.S. military base in northern Michigan. The 5 individuals, according to Campus Reform, had recently graduated from the University of Michigan. They were purportedly taking photos of military equipment during an August 2023 training exercise between U.S. National Guard forces and the Taiwanese personal military. There's another incident that occurred in January of 2024 when a Chinese national studying at the University of Minnesota was apprehended after using a drone to surveil a U.S. shipyard in Newport News, Virginia. The individual, Feng Yongxi, was convicted under the Espionage Act in July and later sentenced to 6 months in prison in December U.S. immigration officials announced his deportation just last week. That's China. New York Post, Chinese researchers alleged plot to smuggle crop-killing fungus into the U.S. in an attack on U.S. food supply. We're just thinking of missiles and bombs and, oh my God, Zelensky is going to start World War III. We're already in it. National security authorities and members of Congress are raising alarm over the alleged plot by two romantically involved Chinese researchers to smuggle samples of a dangerous crop-killing fungus into the U.S. Yang Win, I don't know how to pronounce her name, 33, a Communist Party loyalist, lab researcher at the University of Michigan, who received Chinese government funding for her work, plotted the illicit transport of the pathogen with her boyfriend, can't pronounce his name either, but Zhang Yang Liu, 34, according to the FBI. Liu was caught at the Detroit Metropolitan Airport last July after allegedly attempting to sneak packages of Fusarium graminearum into the country, according to the feds. This is an attack on the American food supply, according to a Trump senior official. A Chinese national, the woman, 33 years of age, again, a University of Michigan lab researcher, is now charged with her boyfriend of conspiring to smuggle a potentially dangerous fungal pathogen into the U.S. Sanilac County jail. What? The fungus is already here in the United States. We already know what type of devastation it could do. The question is, were they trying to manipulate it? You know, like China did COVID. Oh, did I say that? This is according to House Intelligence Committee Chairman Rick Crawford. He said, quote, the CCP will use every tool in its warfare toolbox to cripple the United States and bring us to our knees. A pathogen like this, if successfully introduced into a crop, could inflict significant economic loss for U.S. agricultural producers. So, guys, we're sitting here. Senator Joni Ernst, let me say this, said it appears that FBI may have intercepted a potential bioweapon. She says, quote, we are very fortunate the Trump administration and federal law enforcement stopped this potential bioweapon before it compromised our nation's food supply. The bacteria infects wheat. It infects barley, corn, and rice. When it does, it can devastate crops. The key question is if the bacterial strain being brought has been modified to make it resistant to treatment or to make it more pathogenic. That's what we're up against. And then you got Harvard, where Harvard is being infiltrated. This is why it is a good idea for Trump. I think Trump in the last day or two is even challenging the accreditation of Columbia University. Guys, I'm telling you right now, they are surrounding us. China, the Islamists as well, they're working together. China, Iran, Russia, North Korea. Russia can't stop the war. They won't stop the war. They won't. It isn't even just about Putin anymore. It's bigger than Putin. He is part of the axis of evil. There's a new world order. There's a new world order taking shape. And a lot of it is already happening right here on our soil and on our college campuses. Again, on our farmlands. Rubio seems to be hip to this, so thank God. We see the anti-Semitism. First, they came for the Jew. They'll come for the patriot. They'll come for the Christian. They'll come for you. Rubio also announced visa restrictions for foreign nationals who censor Americans. So I think Trump and Rubio are on it. But guys, it's time to see the big picture. Zelensky can't start a war that we're already a part of. You just have to see it. You just have to open your eyes. Till next time, don't grow weary doing good.